How is everybody doing? Oh my goodness. Today's going to be a fun session. Let me set the stage a little bit. One of the things that is becoming rampant, when I say one of the things, some are watching this going, well, this is happening everywhere, is video. Video is huge. And when I say it's becoming rampant, I mean, you have the emergence of TikTok. You have, of course, you still have YouTube. Of course, you have every other video platform going. Everybody's in video meetings. And we all now know that video is big. But whether you're a marketer, big general umbrella, or you're specifically a social media marketer, for many of us, video is scary as all can be. I'm not a videographer. I don't know how to use a camera. I don't have the gear. I have a face for radio, not for video. I don't know what to do. Can't I just outsource this? What's going on? I am freaking out. And many of you are being forced to do this or avoiding it as much as possible out of fear and anxiety. Guess what? No different at our company, Agorapulse. Zero difference. So what we did was he actually said, we need to put together a primer so that everybody kind of understands just the high level basics. This is not how to build a studio. This is not what gear should you buy. This is not how to run a camera. This is not what are the best techniques to do color correction or LUTs in Adobe Premiere. This is none of that. This is like, how do I make a cool video that I can share in social and gets engagement? That's all this is, high level. Now, I'm not the expert. The expert is the one, the only, Nathaniel Harper. And Nathaniel's going to join us shortly. Nathaniel. Nathaniel.
How about that?
That's a great video of your Imaging Edge webcam.
That's awesome.
Where did you? Okay, if you ever want to know if this is live, this is live.
Exactly. This is super authentic.
Do you know where your camera went, my friend?
It'll be right back. Do you want to stall for us for just a little
I will
bit
stall.
Longer? Great.
And while I stall, and Nathaniel goes and figures it out. It's reasons like that you guys are freaking out, going, "That's why I don't want to do video, because I'm going to screw it up like that." But so here's a couple things. Video can be fun. So I'll give you an example. I did a video the other day and I shared it with some people and they said, the video was great, Darryl. It was really, really good. But at one point there, you kind of stuttered a little bit. You may want to reshoot the whole video. That looked fantastic. And I went back to them and I said, guess what? People stutter. They look for words. They look up. They avoid the camera. I said, part of that is just being authentic. Part of that is just letting the world know that you are imperfect, but you're genuine. I said, I knew the stutter was there, but everything else I said in that video was spot on. It was within my time frame, and I put it out there because I don't pretend to be this polished Hollywood-esque person. I stutter. So there you go. Leave it in there, and the beauty is that I don't spend 14 more hours kind of reshoot a new video and re-edit it and everything else and get it out again. That's the last thing you want. It's all about scale. So video is compelling. The thing about video, and Nathaniel's going to cover this when he starts sharing, is that quite often you need to understand that you may or may not get engagement on it. Don't worry about the vanity metrics. Over 90+% of people on social media, that's a stat that I've completely made up, but I know I'm pretty damn right, never comment, never like, never share. They just look at it, right? They just consume, they lurk. That's what they do. And part of video is building your brand, building your knowledge, building your reputation, building your thought leadership. And the lurkers are learning. The second part is they're looking at it on their phones, right? So I bring my phone up here, right? My phone is always on mute. So you want to do some basic things like making sure it's captioned, making sure the first 5 seconds are dynamic, all those wonderful things. Those are some very basic things. But Nathaniel, I stalled as long as I can. Can you come back? Are you live?
I am.
Never mind, he says. You're here? So let's just do this. Let's segue over to that little video that you produced and give us the high level. Can you press play on that puppy? And then we'll circle back. That'll buy you some time to change your settings, and then we can recap it. So whenever you're ready, Nathaniel, press play, my friend.
Hi, I'm Nathaniel Harper, and I'm the new video producer here at Agorapulse. And today I'm going to show you a little bit about how to create your own video content for Agorapulse. We're going to be going over some tips, tricks, and standard operating procedures to help you create awesome video content for the Agorapulse team. So hopefully this helps, and hopefully you leave feeling empowered to create some killer video content. So first up, I'm going to talk about personality. Now, personality is really important for video because that's the number one thing that's going to connect your viewers to your video. So being yourself, being animated, and really showing off your personality is a very positive thing. I always say you can't really go too big on video because it just translates into excitement. If you're monotone, if you're being flat, if you're being boring, that translates because it doesn't seem like you're interested in what you're talking about. So why should your viewers be interested in what you're talking about? It's really important to just show off that personality, show off that excitement for what you're talking about, and have fun with it. Another important thing that I would say that can be useful is sometimes to just go off script. This isn't to say that you should just totally say whatever you want to say. We still have to be professional. But at the same time, if you know your subject, then that will come across on video. So just having a few talking points and just looking back and checking your notes to make sure that you're on track is always a good thing, because it doesn't sound like you're reading off stuff to your audience. It doesn't sound like you barely know what you're talking about. It sounds like you're a knowledgeable professional who's just sharing the information that you already know. So I highly recommend, if you're going to start recording, maybe don't just read off a paper. Create some bullet points and then go from there. Okay, now we're going to get into a little bit of the technicals. We're going to talk audio. So audio is obviously a huge important component of video. A lot of people say audio is 50% of a good video. You've probably seen videos before where the audio quality is very poor, and maybe it's so bad that you actually stop watching the video. So we really want to drill home that audio is key for video, good audio specifically. As a general sense, you want to make sure that you don't hear any background noise when you're recording your videos. I know this sounds pretty intuitive, but if you hear that your significant other is running the lawnmower outside of your office, then your microphone can hear that your significant other is running the lawnmower outside your office. So anything that you can pick up with your ears, I almost guarantee your microphone is also picking that up. Even something as simple as when you go into a room, if you're speaking and you hear an echo, your microphone, again, is picking that up. So it's just a simple thing as maybe asking your significant other, hey, can you run the lawnmower after I'm done recording this video? Or, hey, this room is very echoey. Let me move to another room, because that's gonna really improve the sound quality of your video. And even if you have the best microphone in the world, if you're in a terrible location to be recording, it's just gonna sound bad either way. Another important audio tip is to make sure that you are close to your microphone. As a general standard operating procedure, the closer you are to your microphone, the better the sound is gonna be. You can have the best mic in the world, but if you're half the room away, then it's still gonna sound like garbage. This doesn't mean that you should have your mic right in your mouth. You shouldn't swallow the mic. I'm sure you've seen videos on Zoom where people are talking like this the whole time. Don't do that. We want to make sure the mic is out of shot, or at least visually appealing in the shot like this. But yeah, the closer you have the mic to you, the better. I'll just put the mic just out of frame here. It's still pretty close to me. If this is the mic that I was using to record this video, we'd be getting great sound. So just make sure the mic is close enough to you. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the microphones themselves. So as a general rule, I would say don't use your laptop speakers. Just those usually sound pretty poor quality, and oftentimes you get a little bit of a feedback loop with the speakers playing the audio from whatever you're recording, and then also your own voice. It's just a mess. So as a general rule of thumb, don't use your laptop speakers as the microphone. Instead, if you have a headset with a flip down microphone, that's great. Use that. That's a good starting point. If you really want to take this to the next level though, I'd recommend something like a USB microphone you can plug in. There's obviously the Rode Pod mic, which a lot of people have heard of. There's also the Blue Yeti mics, which are decent. So if you really want to take that audio up to the next level, a USB mic like that runs about $100 Canadian is going to drastically improve your audio quality. Now, one thing I'll say about those mics, if you're going to buy one of those, is a lot of people take them out of the box and then they just plug them in and go, which is great, but oftentimes you should read the manual which comes with it, which describes how to properly set up your microphone. There's often settings on the microphone which you can adjust, which will drastically improve the sound of your voice. So I've had people who have bought like a Blue Yeti or a Rode Pod mic. They've set it up and they've just been like, this sounds terrible. And the reason for that is because they didn't read the manual, which said, hey, turn your dial to number 2 if you're going to be using this as a computer microphone. Next up, we're going to talk cameras. So cameras are super important. Obviously, that's how people see you on video. A lot of people use just their webcam on their computer, which is great. But as a general rule of thumb, make sure that your camera is at eye level. I'm sure you've seen a million videos where the person speaking is like this or like this, and it looks terrible. So make sure that your camera is at eye level when you're speaking, because again, that creates more engagement. And also be sure to look into the camera. There's nothing worse than when you're watching a video and you're looking at your bullet points or whatever, and you're just like this the whole video, talking about how video is really important and how great it is for people to do video. It doesn't look good. Look into your camera. One thing that's helpful if you're recording like an interview or something like that is to put the actual interview guests at the top of your screen, right where your webcam is, so you can see that easily and also still be looking into the camera. Another important thing I would say is make sure that you are have enough headroom. So if you see here, I'm not going to look at the camera now, but if you see here, I've got just enough headroom, but it's not to the point where my head is absolutely cut off, or it's not to the point where my head is miles away from the top of the screen. Another important thing to note would be your background. So the background is obviously what people see behind you when you're speaking to your camera in a video like this. I've got an okay background. I don't love it. I'm sort of in the process of getting it set up, but make sure that it's not full of distracting objects, some weird lights, anything like that. Just make sure it's nice, clean. Also, don't use the green screen effects on Zoom or on Google. Just move your computer or clean up your background a little bit. Honestly, a blank wall is better than a terrible Zoom green screen background. So just don't use those. Do not. If you want to take your camera game to the next level and don't want to just use the integrated webcam in your laptop, there's some good webcams that run pretty cheap. There's the Logitech C series, which you can get like one of the lower end ones for around $75 Canadian, which is pretty cheap. Those just mount on the top of your computer. You plug them in with a USB, you're good to go. It's 1080p video, so HD quality, which is awesome. And it looks pretty decent. So those are my recommendations in terms of actual stick-on webcams. If you really want to take your video game to the next level though, I'd recommend you take a look around your house and see if you have an old mirrorless or DSLR camera. A lot of these camera companies have come out with software which allows you to actually use them as a webcam through free software. So all you really need is a micro USB to USB cable, free software, and oftentimes you have to run a firmware update on the camera. Now this all sounds complicated, but it's actually really easy. There's YouTube videos galore on how to do this. I'm using that right now. I'm actually recording into an old Sony camera that I have, and it's super, super easy. It works with Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and a lot of the major sort of meeting software. So I highly recommend using a DSLR or mirrorless if you have the opportunity. So now we're going to talk editing. Editing is an absolute key component of creating any good video. And there's a few different techniques and methods, but the important thing you need to know is that cuts can help emphasize certain aspects of a video. You can do cuts, you can do zooms, you can do twists, whatever you want to make the video look good. Really, these serve as ways to add engagement. It just keeps it from being a boring, static, locked off shot. And it allows you to just add a bit of visual interest. And like I said, add emphasis to certain elements as you're speaking. As a general rule of thumb, you kind of want a little bit of space around you like I have here in order to be able to cut in. Obviously, you can't add extra footage that's not there at the end. So maybe shoot a little bit wider than you're actually needing to if you're going to be cutting in and stuff like that. And as a general rule of thumb, if you're going to be punching in and doing some cool cuts like that, make sure that you're recording in high enough resolution. It's not usually possible to record to your computer in 4K, but at least if you're recording in 1080p, you can crop in enough to where you won't lose much quality, even if you're exporting at, say, 720p, which is still borderline HD. As a rule of thumb, though, we typically want to stick to 1080p, which is the industry standard for HD video. But if you want to make some cuts, you can do so without losing much quality. In terms of editing software, this is where it gets a little bit tricky for some people. I use Adobe Premiere Pro, which is expensive. It's very complicated. It crashes a lot. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for beginners. That being said, if you want to sort of dive into the deep end on editing and have an incredible editing software for free that works amazing, that's almost industry standard at this point, is DaVinci Resolve. You can download this for free. Like I said, it's super expansive. You can do a lot of stuff in it if you want to, but you can also sort of learn as you go and just do a little bit of editing here and there. So that's one I'd recommend if you're really wanting to dive into video. But if you're just looking to get your toes wet, so to speak, there's always Descript or iMovie. So iMovie is okay. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It doesn't have a ton of features. The positive is it's free and it's usually on your Mac when you buy your Mac. But Descript is available for Mac and PC. It's just a web browser. It's also free, and it allows you to cut and add little graphics and some cool effects and stuff like that. So I'd say if you want to do something free that's super easy to understand, then I would go with Descript. But if you can't really decide and you want to just try it out without logging into and learning a new program, a lot of people know iMovie, at least on some level, so you can test it out there. Let's talk sound effects. So sound effects adds the spice to your video. It can also add a little bit of humor, a little bit of excitement, and it just adds that extra element. If you remember at the beginning of this video, I said that audio is 50% of a good video, and just making the voice sound good is obviously an incredible step, but adding those sound effects is just like the cherry on top. It can, again, help punctuate certain moments. It can help create a humorous atmosphere or help emphasize certain elements of your video. And it's just fun. It's creative. People get engaged when they hear that you took the time and the effort to actually add these elements into your video. I'm just going to show you a little bit of an example of a video I did with Darryl of how you can sort of implement sound effects in a way that's not super obtrusive. It's not overbearing, but it does add a bit of humor and a bit of interest.
Got a webinar coming up I think you're going to be interested in. Imagine you're an agency owner and your biggest client, the chief marketing officer, calls you up and says, the economy's slowing down. I'm getting pressure to conserve cash, and they're looking at the fees I pay you. You may be on the chopping block. Help me out. You know the drill. You're about to get axed. The question is, how did you allow yourself to get there in the first place?
So the places that I got those sound effects for that video, I really only used two sites. We have the Motion Array company account. Motion Array is an incredible website which allows you to download templates for videos, video footage, video music, video sound effects, all of the above, and it's all copyright free. So I always check there first. If I can't really find what I'm looking for, another good site is actually freesound.org. You have to create an account for free, but then once you've created it, everything's free. You just want to be careful when you're downloading sounds that they're actually copyright free. So in order to check that, you want to make sure that it has a Creative Commons 0 license, and it will say that on the side if you look for the description. So those are two great websites, and again, just adds a little bit of spice to the video. Let's talk music. Music can dramatically enhance the mood of the video that you're creating in any way. So you have to be really careful in terms of what music you're using and how it actually is going to affect the way that the audience will feel about the video. I could play sad music here, and it just makes the whole video sound depressing. I could play angry music here. It just makes me sound like I'm so mad at you for not creating awesome video content. Or I can create overly happy music here, which just makes me sound like I'm so chipper, even though it's pretty early in the morning here in Canada. So music can be an awesome tool in order to help enhance your video. I will say that not every video needs music. If you feel like music just isn't gonna really add anything to your video, or if you have a particularly long interview type video, I would just avoid using music. Sometimes it's nice to just hear the people talk. You don't really have that distracting sound in the background, and it doesn't really add much to the video anyway. As a general rule of thumb, you want to make sure that the music is quite a bit lower than the people speaking. We really don't want to drown out their voices. So as a rule of thumb, just keeping it around negative 25 decibels. If you're able to see the decibel volume level on your music track is perfect. Use your ears though. If you can hear that it's too loud, then just turn it down. Make sure that the voice isn't drowned out. It's always good to have the music quieter than it needs to be, than louder than it needs to be. Just like the sound effects, I get all my music from Motion Array. Just as something to watch out for, I'd recommend not using super corporate-y bops, basically. I'll play one in the background here. These are just so overused. This is a personal thing, but I'd recommend if you're gonna choose music, just make it a little bit more interesting. This doesn't mean we need to play country twang while you're giving a demo on social ROI, but I would just recommend being a little bit creative with the music. Don't grab the first track you see. All right, we're almost done here, but I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about lower thirds and graphics. So lower thirds and graphics, stingers, whatever you wanna call them. Those are the name cards, the magical things here in the sky which say important stuff. And those can be downloaded from Motion Array as well. Now it's a bit more complicated to add them if you're using something like DaVinci Resolve or Premiere or even iMovie. But something like Descript is super easy to add those by yourself. You can just walk through the tutorial and it'll show you how to add them. They just add, again, a little bit more visual interest, a little bit more punch, and it helps you emphasize maybe certain sentences, certain things you want to say. If you remember the Darryl video I showed you earlier, there's little examples of that as well. So those are great. Sometimes I also like to use copyright-free clip art, which can be kind of fun and interesting. There's public domain vector images, I believe it's called, which is a decent website. Again, you just want to make sure that the images are copyright-free. We have free use to use them, and we don't need to provide any sort of credit to the original creator. Another cool thing you can do with graphics is add some interesting footage on the screen. You've probably seen in that other Darryl video that I added flames at one point over Darryl.
And the other half of the people say, there's no way in hell you're ever going to get me to measure the impact financially on revenues that I make for my clients.
So in order to do that, I just download some stock footage off of Motion Array. And you can actually find transparent video. There's a little tab down by the side. You can select transparent videos, which allows you to just drag and drop the footage right on top of whatever you want. This can be some cool stuff like fireworks. It can be fire. It can be whatever really you want. So that's super cool. And again, adds a little bit of visual interest and spice to the video. Let's talk captions. Now, this is probably the least fun of creating your video, but it's a really good idea to create captions for the videos you're making. Why this is a good idea? Honestly, it helps boost SEO a lot. Google's able to read the caption files that you provide for videos, whereas it's not able to watch a video. So that is just a huge SEO boost. It's also an accessibility thing. There are going to be some people who might want to watch your videos who have hearing impairments. And again, this just allows them to engage and be interested in the videos. More than anything though, a lot of people watch videos on social media with the sound off. Without having that, we're losing a huge potential audience. So I definitely recommend adding a caption file to your video. There's super easy ways to do this. If you have a shorter video, you can just caption it yourself. Easiest way to do that is to upload your video to the company Wistia account. And once it's uploaded, you can go to customize, then go to captions, and then hit order captions, and then select the $00 AI generated captions. Those will get the captions like 98% correct. You'll just have to read it through once to make sure that all the words are right. And you can just type in there, hit the download button, and you're good to go. You got the caption file. One last thing I'll say just about general video creation, we really want to be mindful of copyright, especially as a company that is advertising through these videos and selling product through these videos. We just have to be super careful that everything that we're posting is copyright-free images, copyright-free music, copyright-free graphics. So just watch out for that. All right, I hope that was helpful. I hope that was a good walkthrough of sort of the tips and tricks that you can use to create some awesome video content. I think that the key takeaway for this should be that anybody can make video content. I'm the video editor and here I am creating video content. So if I can do it, you can do it. It's super easy. You just gotta start thinking about how you're gonna do it. Be yourself, be personable, show off your personality, make sure your tech is all in alignment, and then you're gonna kill it. You're gonna make some awesome video content. Until next time.
Don't you love that? Okay, so that was our quick and dirty. What do you need about video to make it look cool and engaging? Now, a couple things. One, you heard Nathaniel talk about the company Wistia account. Now, that could be Wistia, that could be Vimeo. There's other services out there. What he's really saying is it's not a Google Drive, and it's not a YouTube. Okay, and there's a couple ways that I want you to understand this. On YouTube, like you don't really have any control, minimal control on how that looks. And you know, the end of your video playing, it may say recommend here's 6 other videos or 12 other videos just like this you may want to view. And you could have ads overlaid. So you do want to put content on your YouTube channel because it is a major search engine, including and make sure everything that he just said about producing that content is there. The SRT files for the captions, etc. But for your actual usage, whether it's on your website or on your socials, you want to host it at a credible video hosting service. Vidyard is another example of a service you could use. So that's the first part. Second part there was this. He ends up by saying, you know, if I can do video and I'm the video editor, anybody can do video. And that's 1,000% true. So I had never seen Nathaniel do a video before. This video he created that he just played for you was a reaction to the concern and the anxiety that people in our own organization have, and we've seen it at every single company and customer of ours. So that was like, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. But what I saw Nathaniel come out, and you know, it was like he was standing and he was pacing, he was going forward, he was going back, his hands are moving around. Not unlike what I'm doing now. So if you got nervous energy, standing is a great way to do it. You don't have to be constrained. So he more than anything, what he did was he projected, he over exaggerated, you know, to kind of be visible. He wasn't monotone. He used his voice and his inflection. All right. So it's about keeping the audience engaged. And he's right. If he can do it, anybody can do it. So that's probably a good segue. Nathaniel, have we got that camera working, my friend? It's working. Welcome.
We do. It's incredible. I'd like to say a video about or a live stream about, you know, gaining confidence in front of the camera isn't complete without an overheating camera, but we'll pretend that was on purpose. It was just to show you that mistakes happen and stuff like that can happen live, especially.
And you know what's really fun about this, honestly, folks? Okay, so that happened. His camera overheated. It was unexpected, and I had to dance. What does that mean? That means you next time will check to make sure the camera has not, you know, it's not about to overheat when you're going live. That's a lesson learned. So there's 2 ways you can react to this. One is to go, oh my goodness, I'm never doing this again because I made a fool of myself. Or the other way is to say, hey, it's life. It happens. We can all laugh together and we've learned something out of it. And I would strongly encourage the latter because candidly, it's more so about being out there and being real than it is being perfect. It's the classic line on social media. Everybody's life is great. How come your life sucks? Well, that's reality. Everybody's life's got challenges. They just don't always show it. So be more authentic than you are, you know, perfect. Nathaniel, when you watch that recap, what was going through your mind? Anything bouncing out at you that you were like, yeah, when I made that point, that is so true, or anything else you might have missed that you want to add?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just watching it back and even thinking like leading up to this live stream, I was just thinking how like I got my first paid video gig in 2015, and I've worked for a ton of different organizations, nonprofits, financial advisors, SaaS companies, tourism boards, everything. So a lot of different areas, and I've made videos for all these different companies. And I feel like when I started, the question was, okay, is video a valuable medium? Should we be pushing video? And then as the years progressed, people started going, okay, we need video. Video is key. We can't ignore the video anymore. We have to make video. So we'll bring in an agency or a videographer, and we'll have them churn out awesome content. But it is going to be a big hit on the pocketbook. So now I feel like with COVID, with the pandemic, and with the economy, I feel like it's sort of shifted to now people are thinking, okay, let's see, maybe we'll bring the videographer in for one video a month, but then the rest of the time, let's make the content ourselves. But interestingly enough, just watching that whole video, all that video is tips and tricks on how to nail the tech. But I think the biggest thing, and why I loved the name you came up with for this live stream, is people say, I'm not good on camera. Video is scary. I don't want to be in front of the people. I don't want to project myself and put myself out there and be on video. And I mean, you and I have seen it countless times where people, as soon as they start like one or two or three videos in, they just find their voice and they're just talking to the camera like it's no problem. They roll into the studio and they're just ready to go. So honestly, as much as the tech is super important, as much as it's like a key element to making a solid video, it's really just about the self-confidence and about how you feel in front of the camera and how you're able to project yourself.
And I think it's about accepting that you're going to make mistakes and
Exactly.
embracing that
Exactly.
it's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I would say as a CMO is when my social team or my marketing team comes to me and says, we want to hire an agency because, we don't have the gear, we don't have the talent. And by the way, I will tell you that this camera right here that's on my phone does an amazing job for a lot
Yep.
of your cameras. It does a
100%.
starting point. You can start with the basics.
Yep.
The one thing I will say is, yeah, you can hire an agency, but you know what? You hire an agency once or twice or three times. Well, at that point, you could have a full-time employee.
Exactly.
So once you get the full-time employee, if that's what you want, there's a better ROI in a full-time employee. But the other option there is these videos don't need to be Hollywood productions.
No.
Well, you just saw Nathaniel produce in that little 20-minute segment. He had a lot of fast cuts, some zoom in, some zoom outs, some overlays, some lower thirds, some special effects, some music, everything. For the most part of it, that was pretty basic stuff. I know it made it feel basic, but that was pretty basic stuff. And you just got to invest the time.
Exactly.
Any final thoughts, Nathaniel, for somebody who is hesitant to do this and just don't think they have the aptitude to do what you just did?
I think honestly, from like I said, it's really just two aspects. It's your own self-confidence and your own feeling about if you feel like you have the right gear. So in terms of the self-confidence, I'd say, yeah, just like you said, Darryl, you're gonna make mistakes. Nobody's gonna be perfect right out the bat, and that's totally fine. As long as you allow yourself chances to learn and grow and learn how to project yourself and be in front of the camera, then that's fine. And in terms of the gear, I think a lot of people look at some videos and they think, oh, I'm never going to make something like that. Like they had such a great camera. They had this, they had that, they had a drone. But like you said, like the phone camera, like iPhone 11 and up, they all shoot 4K now. And it's super easy to enable 4K recording on your phone. So it's not rocket science. You probably already have it in your pocket that can create great videos. Even I've got like a GoPro 10. A lot of people have those sitting around. Any GoPro, I think from 8 on up, have awesome stabilization, 4K video. So yeah, the tools are out there and it's super easy. It's not as big of a commitment as you think.
And the other thing is you'll see people say, well, I don't have a studio.
Exactly.
I'm sitting here in my own personal home office, as is Nathaniel right now. If you look over Nathaniel's shoulder, you'll see there's his storage closet behind him. Now, I think he's tidied up a little bit, but it's not like he's hiding it. That's the storage closet, right?
Yeah.
Now, you can take a home office environment and you can make it work for you. So, for example, one of the things I did, if you look over my shoulder here, you see this wonderful light. I intentionally put that light there. When I'm on Zoom calls, I use a different camera that has me facing this way, and over my shoulder here, I have another light. And you'll notice, for example, in a lot of Hollywood movies and scenes, whenever they're talking to an individual and they're zooming in, there's always a light behind them. They call that a motivation light. So, you can add some accents to make it video friendly, but it's still my home office.
Exactly.
So, I mean, do you have any special lighting going on in your setup right now, Nathaniel?
I don't actually. I'm running some super cheap. You could get them on Amazon. I think they're like $12, but I'm just running some cheap LED so that I can light up some of the areas in the back here, and it's not distracting. It looks really nice. And yeah, like I said, it was $12. So it's not a huge investment, and it's going to add to the look of the background.
All right, guys. That's the show. We wanted to let you know that if you truly want to drive ROI on all your marketing or social media spend, video, fantastic way to go. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that once you've got that great video content and you put it out there, you should use a tool like Agorapulse that can actually monitor, track, and measure the return on that spend you're making. So you want to go to agorapulse.com/demo now. Check that out. It's the only social media management platform on the market, in the world, in the universe today, that automates the entire tracking process. No more manually making UTM codes and forgetting to do it. It just happens. Check it out, because social media is only as good as the revenue it drives. In the meantime, if you like this content, you should reach out to Nathaniel. Follow him online. He's got great content. My name is Darryl. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where we put all of these awesome videos. And when you're there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for every single time a new one's issued. You get noticed. Hit the bell as well. That's it. We're done here, folks. Nathaniel, thank you for your time. I'm Darryl. You guys take care. We'll talk to you soon.